You're a mean one, Mr. Hasbro. You really are a fink. Firing a bunch of people during Christmas holiday really, really stinks. You're a lousy Mr. Hasbro. Hey, what's up, my fellow holiday nerds? It is I, the original Grinch that stole Christmas, the OGGM, coming to you live from Site B, 9 o'clock in the morning on here, the 13th day of December 2023, and the trash fire that is Wizards of the Coast Hasbro continues to burn. Remember a couple days ago when I feel like I said to Pat, if I could travel to the future to talk to past self, Pat Self has the words coming out of his mouth saying, it's been a pretty quiet week for Hasbro. I think they could make it to the end. Nope. I would just slap myself in the face and go, dude, you should know better. So Hasbro, after being quiet for almost all last week, came out guns a-blazing, said, let's go out this year the way we came in this year with everybody hating on us, but let's do it with style. Bam, 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 bam. If we're going to go, let's go big. And they're firing people left or right. But, people were like, certain people were like, one person was like, they're not going to fire Wizards of the Coast people. Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons is what makes them all their money. Well, as we found out yesterday, nope, that's not true. Wizards of the Coast employees and D&D employees are getting cut left and right. Sad to say, my friend who has worked for Wizards of the Coast for years was one of the many who was given their surprise walking papers yesterday. And another surprise is Mike Mearls. We found out last night that Mike Mearls was one of the many people to lose their job. Now, you might be asking yourself, who's Mike Mearls and why do I care? Because he's sort of been a non-person. But if you go to Mike Mearls' Wikipedia, he has written and created stuff for 3rd, 4th, and 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. He was the senior manager of D&D research and development. He is one of the last connections between old Wizards of the Coast and new Wizards of the Coast. He's the last of, he's been doing stuff for them forever. He's the genius behind everything that was good in 3rd, 4th, and early 5th. And then yesterday they cut him loose. The last connection to the old school, the last connection to the legacy. But that's not all. That's not all who lost their jobs between, we've got D&D designer Dan Dillon, art director Bree Heiss, D&D Beyond host Amy Dallin. Amy Dallin lost her job. Senior communications Larry Fune, he's gone. Mike Mearls, the senior management of D&D and Magic the Gathering, lost his. David McDarby, game designer of Magic the Gathering. Chris Lindsay, who created the DMs Guild and is one of the premier driving forces behind the DMs Guild, gone. Liz Shue, licensing and publishing manager. Natalie Ingen, community manager. Jesse J. Hill, another community manager. And art director Mike Valancourt. Associate System Administrator Vanessa Curran, Senior Data Scientist Michael Rexford, Analytics Engineer Ellie Lockhart, Technical Producer Jana Hodgkins, Director of Magic the Gathering and Magic the Gathering Beyond, Megan Donahue, and Program Manager Desiree Dawn. So men, women, children, people of color, it doesn't matter. They are losing their jobs left and right, and Hasbro Wizard is not done. We have already exceeded the 1,100, and we're getting close to 1,150, possibly even 1,200. And also, there's rumors that they're closing down one of their branches. They only have 2 that I know of, the one in Austin and the one in Seattle. So either they're closing the one in Austin or they're closing the one in Seattle, or there's another one I don't know about and they're closing it. There probably is another one that doesn't get a lot of love. Who remembered that there was one in Austin? I didn't until we said, looked at the things lately. And just to double check, I'm going to go to the job page and see what they're hiring for. And these are all in Austin. And yep, for everybody, for the 50 people at Wizards who lost their jobs, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37 positions that they are looking to fill, all for digital, all for Archetype Entertainment or Atomic Arcade or the digital game development. So 50 people who worked on hard, solid D&D, including senior Mike Mearls, have lost their jobs, but about 30 people have the possibility of getting new jobs, as long as you understand that those are all jobs in the technical digital video VTT video game comptometer internet world, not that physical D&D stuff. No. It's all people that they're looking to do the video game type stuff with, like they said they were going to do since 2020. So I guess that ends the connection to the legacy of Gygax. For anybody who's still proclaiming that Wizards is keeping the legacy of Gygax alive, that's not true. Anybody who thinks still that the focus is going to be on physical commodity, that's not true. If anybody who still thinks that digital's not going to be the thing they're focusing on, I think it's safe to say that is true. And for anybody out there who thought, oh yeah, well, Wizards is still the good guys and they're not going to fire anybody because they make Hasbro money, well, as we can see, that's not true. And losing Mike Mearls, that seems to be a heavy blow, especially to the anything good and decent that came out in the last couple of years from Wizards probably owes its awesomeness to Mike. But don't feel bad for Mike, because he can pretty much write his own check and get a job at anywhere in the gaming industry. He could probably walk in the doors of Trollord Games on Monday and be working by Wednesday. Same with Paizo or Chaosium. That's the kind of resume this guy has, that he could, or he could just do solo Kickstarter stuff like Ed Greenwood does. Can't believe they fired the D&D Beyond people and the DMs Guild people and all those all these other people. But they said they were going to gut and redo D&D DMs Guild, and they constantly evolving D&D Beyond. Amy Dallin, the producer host. I mean, there goes one of their cheesecake female presenters. She's gone. But yeah, the Mike Mearls one, that's not a surprise. It is a surprise, but it's not a surprise because Mike hasn't done anything in years. They just sort of kept him around. But the rest shouldn't come as a surprise. It does come as a surprise. Desiree, and if anybody's thinking, oh, well, they're only getting rid of the excess people who are old white fucks. Well, you can see by the list that no, there's plenty of women on there and a few people of color. And I'm sure there's at least one LGBT and disabled. So yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. They're just getting rid of people who don't fit the current and future direction of Hasbro Wizards of the Coast. And that's what Chris Cook says in his letter. Sadly, the three names we most wanted to hear on this list are still not on the list. I think everybody was hoping that Kyle would either get fired or willingly step down, since Kyle has said he doesn't think there's a place for him in the hobby anymore. Here's your perfect chance, Kyle. You see Desiree or whoever losing their job, and you can be like, hey, no. Guys like me don't belong in the industry anymore. How about you stay here and take my job, and I'll leave? Right? Because white guys like me shouldn't be in the hobby anymore. Here's your chance. Here's your chance, Kyle. Another person who I think we all hoped would be on the list is Mackenzie Dahms. Here's a chance, Mackenzie, to be the champion you claim you are for women and disabled people and POCs and go, hey, no, don't fire Desiree. Fire me. Let me champion Desiree. And finally, Crawford, the head architect of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, if you're going to get rid of Mearls, you should probably also get rid of Crawford because he's done just as much, right? I mean, look at all the great things he's architected. Here's a chance to get rid of him, or here's a chance for Crawford to go, you know what? I'm going to leave with Mike Mearls because I believe in the mission statement that we have said for the company. So it is important that I also leave to open the door for all these new people who are going to better fit the mission statement of Wizards of the Coast 2024, right? And Chris Perkins could just be like, fuck it, I'm not happy being here, and just leave. But don't feel too bad for Mike. He could write his own ticket. He could literally walk in the door at Paizo on Monday, or walk in the door at Troll Lords on Monday, walk in the door at Chaosium on Monday, walk in the door at pretty much any game company he wanted to, and be working by Wednesday. Or he could just go solo and just kickstart stuff and live off that for a while. So, yeah, I feel bad for these other people, but it's not a surprise. I mean, firing them days before the holiday sucks, but this is the time of year you fire people. You always fire somebody on a Friday, or you always fire somebody right before a holiday, so they have time to deal with it, and you reduce the chances of them coming back and, doing horrible things. If you fire somebody on a Friday, so they have the weekend to think about it. Yeah, but Crawford doesn't do anything, and Perkins is obviously not happy. And if, Crawford truly believes the stuff that's coming out of his mouth, just like Kyle, he should step down and give his job to one of these people, right? Now, somebody said today, remember all those people who said they were going to boycott Wizards of the Coast at the beginning of the year, and now at the end of the year, they're still talking about Wizards of the Coast? Well, I'm still boycotting Wizards of the Coast. Don't get that wrong. I'm not buying anything of theirs, and there's no point in time where I will say anything nice about them. They are awful. They're treating the legacy of the hobby awful. They are treating their fan base awful. They are treating their employees awful. They've just taken something we love, Magic the Gathering, D&D, and just turned it into something that most of us want nothing to do with. It's not D&D anymore. It's not Magic the Gathering anymore. It's the nightmare before Chris Perkins and the nightmare before Jeremy Crawford. And Hasbro is like, hey, we told you guys in 2020 we were going to do this. You shouldn't be surprised. But because we're a bunch of corporate evil capitalist fucks, we're doing it right before the holidays. Because, yeah, that sucks. Here's your severance. But if we're closed, you can't come back and shoot us. So we're doing it right before the holiday. So some of these guys will be fine, like Mike. Some of these will be struggling. Some of these people will realize that they dug their own grave by, regurgitating the Kyle Brink politics that Wizards of the Coast thinks it needs, and now they're discovering, oops, we were wrong. Anyways, I said yesterday this story wasn't going to be over, and it's not over, and I'm sure more to come as this list gets updated. It was updated earlier today. Let's see if it's been updated during the time I was talking. Nope. So yeah, and they're not done. There's going to be more. They're not done. So yeah, that just sucks. But it's the shape of things to come, and we can only wish with all our hearts that all those people land on their feet and are able to continue to support their families in any way that they can whether that's working with another development company or design or video games, or even if they just have to take a job at Target. We don't want anybody to be unemployed in this economy at this time of year, especially in Seattle where it rains. I really have nothing else to say about this. Sadly, this is not the end of this story. It feels like we're ending the year the same way we started the year, with going, really, what the F, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, what the F? It's just not been their best year. I don't think they've done this much fuckery and self-destruction since 4E. I mean, they are their own worst enemy. No, please support Shattered Entertainment. He needs a new computer. So do I. Buy my merch. That's it for today for this story, but it's not over. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you never want to hear me pander to Wizards of the Coast ever again, too bad. And I'll talk to you all later. You're